Court Storming with your host, Perry Sook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Episode 5 of Court Storming. Johnny's with one game this week against Ole Miss, and the good news is it's a win. It is a 63 to 58 point win that stops the Johnny's 7-game losing streak to the SEC, going all the way back to 2012. But besides that, there wasn't much else to like about this game. I caught up with Rick Pitino right after the game, and I'm just going to let him do the talking for me. Coach, you said that this team is devastated when they lose. How important did it seem more important to get a win tonight?
Well, we've been having our way offensively, and we worked all week on defense. And sure enough, we knew that they were going to come in with barrels loaded and play great defense against us, and they did. We had to win the game tonight with everybody having an offensive night, but winning defensively. And that was the great lesson we came away with, that 11 guys can play very poorly on offense and still win the game if your defense is great.
Is it gratifying to see that when that's been the point of emphasis of what you've been working on this season?
Yeah, we had a week to do it. Like I said, it's a meat grinder coaching 8 new players. Not the schedule, but when you have no continuity of even little things on out of bounds plays, things that you got to coach on the fly, it's very difficult. That's the most difficult. Like, I don't think the portal's difficult. I don't think the NIL's difficult. I think coaching new players every year is a meat grinder. I'm in good shape at 73. I'm going to be 133 by the time I retire.
What about that continuity do you see coming out, and do you like where the team is as far as they've grown so far?
I do. We're getting better. Just like at the end of press offense, we have 4 guys stepping out of bounds and 1 guy doesn't. What are you doing? 5 guys have to be out of bounds. And he said, my fault. And this happens almost on every play. So they'll get it. They're a good group of guys. It's fun coaching them.
And then last one for you, Coach. Post-game, Chris Beard said that there's no other coach he would ever want his son to play for if he had one besides you, and that you're the best coach in the game. What does it mean to hear those words?
Well, Chris is a dear friend. When I was out of coaching, I wanted to go see one practice, and I called him up, and it was Texas Tech. Heard so much about him. We've become close friends. I root for him all the time. Great guy, great coach. He's doing a fabulous job with this team.
Congrats on the win, Coach. Thank you so much. Yeah, so as I mentioned, Coach continuing to be in good spirits despite the 2 games over 500. However, the same cannot be said of necessarily anyone, especially if you are on St. John's Twitter. And that is why I have the perfect guest for today. Not only is he the host of the Eye on the Storm podcast, excellent, you should check it out, my favorite podcast, hands down, on the Red Storm, but also not hiding, he's a fan. He is a fan first, I would say, and podcaster second. So I've got to ask you, you get a win, you're coming out of Vegas, you need a win to feel good about this team. Do you feel good about this team after what you saw yesterday?
Well, Barry, a win is a win is a win is what they say. But, man, walking out of the Garden, I would be lying to you if I didn't say I was a little bit hanging my head. It wasn't great. It wasn't a fantastic performance. Now, what I will say is that it showed the fans, it showed this coaching staff that this team can win ugly, and you have to win ugly in order to succeed in college basketball, because it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. And frankly, for St. John's this year, it has been a real roller coaster. You lose against 3 ranked opponents, and now you come out of Vegas, you lose against Auburn, and you needed to get that monkey off your back. You really needed a win. You mentioned it. They've been, snake bitten by the SEC. They couldn't beat an SEC opponent. Now you finally beat Ole Miss. You beat an SEC opponent. It wasn't pretty. It was far from it. But you're happy you won. There's a lot to work on. There's a lot to talk about, but it's nice to see that they could flip a switch, and instead of scoring 95 in order to win, that they could put the clamps on you like last year and win with the defense.
Yeah, I have to agree wholeheartedly. While all of the disheartening nature of the commentary around this team coming out of Vegas was so dark, and I thought over the top, I also think it's over the top here because for the most part, yes, there are still questions. 100%, and we'll get to plenty of them right here on the show. However, I think the fact that you can win ugly, the fact that you can, have your lowest scoring total of the year at 63, only make 17 out of 50 shots from the field and come out and win on defense. To me, that is an encouraging sign more than it is a negative sign. So on that, I want to talk about the defense because they were preaching it all week. Stopping the other team's offensive rebounds. Guess what? They limited them to 10 points off second possession points, caused 20 turnovers, and had some great defensive efforts and needed it the most. When you see this defense, are you thinking they took a step in the right direction, thinking Ole Miss is bad, or thinking that this is maybe an actual improvement on the defense?
I'll take a little bit from A, B, and C there. I think that it was very encouraging because, listen, Ole Miss is still an SEC team. They're still talented. There's some solid pieces on that roster. But I think St. John's showed you what Rick Pitino wanted, is that's a connected defense, a defense that will press, a defense that will really be physical with you, that will get in your face, cause a lot of turnovers, like you mentioned, 20 turnovers. That's great. The problem is St. John's can't be so sloppy on their end because they turned the ball over 20 times as well. You brought up the rebounding. I thought that it was great to see St. John's actually win the rebounding battle, not by much, but they did, and they won it on the offensive glass, which has put them over the top. In Vegas, that was a huge issue. So it's good to see those things come to the forefront. And the big thing that you're kind of saying now is, all right, well, let's see him do it again. Now let's string along this defense. Let's see what it does with another 6 days to prepare for Iona next Saturday. But certainly encouraging, certainly a step in the right direction. I want to see it again.
Yeah, and to me, what jumped out is Zuby Ejiofor's presence in that game, because all we've heard, Rick, how many times have we heard him this year say, hey, 8 new guys, it's hard coaching continuity, 8 new guys. Well, when you needed it, your captain, your one returning starter, and one of only 4 returning players, steps up, gets 8 blocks. That is just, by the way, the 4th time in the history of St. John's a player has had 8 blocks in a game. First time since 2018 with Tariq Owens, and also 9 rebounds, and led the team in scoring on a night nobody was getting buckets with 15 points. I was impressed by what Zuby brought, and also kind of impressed at the level-headedness he has kept. At the presser yesterday, everybody wants to get fired up, and nobody hates losing more than Zuby Ejiofor. He looks dejected. I pointed it out in previous pressers when he lost. And so to keep that level head while fueling this fire and being the captain is something I found a lot of respect for him in. Here's what he had to say yesterday about the team's performance in that game.
I just felt like we came out with the right intensity. Obviously, just like Coach said, just 2 teams, just trying to do whatever it takes to get a win. We've had a tough stretch, but I felt like, our mindset was, we came out with the right mindset to start, especially on the defensive end, and we're able to, just come out with a gritty win, so I'm really proud.
While Ole Miss is not the team that maybe we thought they were going to be after making their tournament run last year, in 4 years with the program, Chris Beard has never had a team. They went 81 points for 100 possessions last night. That is the lowest of any of his teams ever. And he said that they were fired up. Their biggest issue has been a motivation problem, from what I've read about Ole Miss. And by golly, they were motivated last night to try to get a win at Madison Square Garden. So I am happy about the signs I've seen from the defense. Very anxious to see what they do against a MAC team, and then obviously Kentucky. Although we do know Kentucky, has some of their own problems going on right now. Sure. But you can only play who you play. Now on that, the offense was a problem. It has not been a problem all season long. And here we are with 63 points, 17 of 50 in shooting. And what was it? I think 34% from the field, 18% from 3, and just nobody could buy a bucket. I want to say Rick said after the game that they were nervous because they didn't want to lose. They know the rankings are getting in their head. But they were just also missing open shots. What's your take on the horrendous offensive performance, for lack of a better word, that we saw last night?
I don't know if I buy that they were nervous. I think it was just an off night. These guys have played at the Garden. These guys have played in Vegas. I don't know if I buy that. But listen, Rick said that he thought they were tight. He says that he thinks that's over with. He thinks that the pressure is off now moving forward. So let's see. The offense was difficult to watch, to say the least. It was one of the worst offensive nights for St. John's in God knows how long. Now, you are able to win despite that. And then that's the story that's coming out of this. You mentioned Zuby Ejiofor, 15 points for Zuby. He only had 2 points in the first half, but he didn't let any of that affect his play. What he is able to do and the way that he sets the tone for everybody. And you mentioned he's the first guy that will take a win over a 30-point, double-double. The offense, though, I think struggled because they, first of all, 8 assists on 17 made field goals is unacceptable. 8 assists in general is really poor. You got to move the ball better. I think the offense was way too stagnant. I think that Dylan Darling, while he was phenomenal in the end of that second half, he scored all 7 points in the second half, clutch free throws, was able to get that layup with 4 minutes to go that really helped propel the Johnnies to get that win. The offense just simply did not get enough from Bryce Hopkins. Not shooting enough, only 6 attempts. Sellers, who had to be on the ball, I think, a little bit more, which takes him away from getting his 3-point looks. He only took 5 shots. And Joe Sansan and Ian Jackson have been the storyline all season, just not doing enough. You go into a game like this, you're thinking, all right, well, we've been scoring 90, 95 every game. They barely cracked 60 in this one. Again, the only way to spin this is that you won ugly and you're able to run out of there with a victory. Now get back in the gym and figure it out.
Yeah, with all of that said, right next to my head right here, we do have some times it did go through the basket and it went through enough for a win. I think that is massive. And to me, I loved it because it didn't seem like the offense was struggling in the way that we saw it struggle last year. When yes, the offense had bad percentage numbers, but it was because things were getting adjusted and guys were a little tight. It didn't look like, hey, just nobody can make a basket tonight. It looked like a bad plan and a bad game plan. That is something I want to talk about a little later because this is not the first time that we have heard Coach say that adherence to the game plan and the script is a difficulty with this team. So that being said, we've already written it off a little bit, but we are going to go ahead and hear what Coach had to say about why he thought his team was a little anxious coming into this one.
We were nervous tonight, and I sensed that they were nervous because there were such high expectations, and they wanted to win so badly that they were a little tight offensively, but they needed their defense to carry them. As much as there were so many mistakes at the end of the game, we made them take bad shots at the end of the game. Our defense was there. So that's a winning attitude there. And our defense hasn't been as good as it was tonight. Now we just got to get our offense back. Got to get guys to really hone in on the scouting report.
Yeah, scouting report, a continued theme here, as well as 8 new guys. And we are going to dive into that and just what happened at the end of that game when we are right back when Court Storming returns.
Welcome back to Court Storming with Perry Sook.
Welcome back, everyone. We are just about through here on episode 5 of Court Storming, but we gotta talk about that end of the game, and we gotta talk about the end of games in general for the Johnnies, because this, unfortunately, now back-to-back games is a continued theme. You have a double-digit lead on Auburn. Well, then you have 9 minutes from hell, for lack of a better word, where that one gets out of control. Then you have a 15-minute lead early in this one, a 14-minute lead late, and then give up a 10-0 run to make it very sweatable and comes down to some very necessary free throws and some massive defensive stops that at least the team was able to come up with. So returning to the broadcast, we have Eye on the Storm podcast, David Berov. So David, where do we think this is a problem? I know there's been a lot of discourse, as we've discussed even on the show already, that the point guard is such a weird position. It has been all year with the situation of naming one, then not naming one, then saying, well, actually, we're playing positionless basketball, and there's not going to be a point guard. Is that the problem? Is it just cold shooting got even colder? I mean, where is this lack of, put the boot on the throat, for lack of a better word, in this St. John's team?
Yeah, I mean, I think the lack of a true floor general has certainly hurts. I wasn't somebody that subscribed to the notion that Rick Pitino said that the point guard position is dead. I understand it maybe in the NBA, but in college, you need somebody to really be that captain on the floor. And I think Dylan Darling has done a great job of doing it for what he is able to, but he was never supposed to be the guy that's, carrying the load at that spot. Now, the way things have broken, Ian Jackson was anointed the point guard, and he wasn't. Then it was Isaiah Sellers. Now it's Dylan Darling. But right now there is a issue about kind of getting everybody into the right spots. You want to see Isaiah Sellers shoot the three more. You want to see the offense play through Bryce Hopkins and get Josan some looks at three and Zuby get better looks. But why is this team kind of faltering later, giving up these leads? I mean, you can't be sloppy on both sides of the ball. You can't turn the ball over 20 times. And you got to make your shots. You got to run some sets. You got to run some plays, get some easy looks. I would love to see more collapsing of the ball going inside and playing in and out so that guys like Sellers can get those three looks. Ian Jackson's a 40% three-point shooter coming from North Carolina. He's somebody that was doing pretty well from the three ball, but, it hasn't been gotten too many of those looks. Josan hit one yesterday. It's a little bit of inconsistency on how the offense is flowing. I think roles are still being defined, honestly. And all of that just kind of leads to everybody sort of just not having a true purpose yet. And I think they're still figuring it out. And that's what Rick keeps alluding to, where it's hard to coach 8 new guys. But listen, that kind of thing gets old real fast. Everybody's dealing with new players. There's a lot of turnover in college basketball. You have a lot of talent. There was a lot of money spent on this roster to bring in these guys. And, they got to figure it out. They got to buy in. And I think that you saw a lot of that yesterday with the defense, but everybody's got to kind of just be on the same page on playing more than themselves. Rick always talks about play for the name of the front and the back will prosper. Yesterday, you saw the defense clamp up. That's a step in the right direction. And, if once you put 40 minutes together, you'll see success. So you saw the defense. We've seen the offense throughout the season. Now put it together, and you'll see a top 25 team, top 10, top 5 that everybody thought was coming into this season.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more because while it is getting late early, things have kept moving. It's not even like we've had a consistent team here. And I know that Rick always says that starters is based on, defensive matchups and all that. Well, when you're picking your point guard, that player tends to start. I don't remember too many games last year where RJ Lewis, didn't start. And with, preseason it being anointed Ian Jackson and then shifting over to Isaiah Sellers after the red and white scrimmage. And now seemingly Dylan Darling is the guy. And one thing I love about what Coach had to say about Dylan Darling is that he says two players on this team don't play to make themselves better. They play to make everyone else on the court better. And those two players are Zuby Ejiofor and Dylan Darling. And that's what I like to hear. Dylan Darling, while he has admitted he's struggling with his shots, I believe the phrase he used was couldn't get a stone into the ocean right now, did come up with 7 pivotal points in the last 4 minutes of yesterday's game, including 1 layup and then going almost perfect from the free throw line. I was able to catch up with Dylan after the game, so let's go ahead and take a listen to that. Dylan, Coach has said that you guys are devastated after a loss. How important was this win tonight to come out after Vegas and do this?
Yeah, we needed it. After a disappointing Vegas trip, it was this was something that we were looking forward to and a win that we needed. And not just to boost our record, but just for us, we needed this win and happy we got it.
Defense has been a point of emphasis so far in the year, and that really was what came out against Ole Miss. What went into making the defense kind of take a step forward tonight?
Yeah, I thought it was a great defensive effort. For really probably 36 minutes of that game until the very end, we kind of broke down just a little bit, but it comes with great effort, great communication, and just having your brother's back, and I thought we did that tonight.
You've been very candid about your unhappiness with your shooting so far, yet with the game on the line, you go on and score all of your points, including clutch free throws. Just how gratifying was that to be able to do that for this team?
Man, just happy I can contribute in some way or fashion. So being able to hit those free throws and kind of seal the game, it was big for the team, and just happy we got this win tonight.
When shots aren't falling and you're running the point, does it make it any harder to run the offense, to stick to the game plan?
I wouldn't say it's harder to stick to the game plan. Just when shots aren't falling, you got to make sure you're doing everything else that you can to contribute to winning. And that's what I try to do, and just try to give max effort and contribute to winning.
And then last one for you. Coach said one of the hardest things in this age of college basketball is not having continuity. Here you are running the point with guys you've never played for before. Do you see it moving in the right direction? Do you feel like you guys are getting more on the same page every week?
Yeah, I mean, games like this are kind of perfect for what we need. Kind of it got chaotic at the end, and, it was a little hectic. And, there's a little bickering, and, that's kind of what we need because that's just going to gel us closer together and just help us further down the road.
Dylan, thanks so much for the time. Congrats on the win. So I love what he said, that this was a perfect win for them. That was actually my favorite thing I heard all night, from all the jokes Rick made at the presser to, Zuby's steadfastness of being a captain. Because it goes back to what we said, that this was a game you very easily could have lost. You really can't lose with only one more quad one opportunity, and we'll see even where Kentucky is by the time they do play, if that will still be a quad one on a neutral site. But that being said, it's kind of time to go or get going. What is your confidence with this team moving forward?
Well, I'm happy to see the way that they won on Saturday, and that's encouraging that they have that defense in them, because up until Saturday night, there were question marks there for sure. I love what Dylan said in regards to this was the type of win that could help us gel, because I think as a fan base, when you look back on a season, something that you look for is like, all right, what was the turning point? What was the moment that we get to look at and pinpoint and say, all right, well, that happened, and now look what happened after that. Could this be that moment? Could this squeaky win against Ole Miss, where defense did it, be your jumping off point? It very well could be, if they could string it together and they could put, this kind of effort into the next 3 or 4 games.
Two things that were amazingly aligned last week. What fans wanted to see in rebounding and defense were the same things Coach wanted to see in his team this week going into the game. So with that said, we got a MAC team in Iona coming to the Garden. Rick said that it is already the highest sold game over the Alabama game, over any of the other games that they had, because of the locality of the fan bases. What do you want to see against Iona?
Well, I want to see that defense again. I want to see St. John's keep Iona under 60 points again. Do it again. You held Ole Miss to 58 points, and Chris Beard after the game said that was the best defense that we played all year. Well, St. John's did the same thing and really stifled Ole Miss. They held them to the lowest point total all season. Now you've got Iona, a team that's been hitting the three pretty well this season, a team that Rick Pitino has a lot of ties to. Obviously, they were the team that took a chance on him and brought him back into the college ranks. But I promise you, Rick Pitino wants to beat their brains in by 40. And I think that is the mission. Get this offense back on track. You hopefully have a sense of urgency in practice this week. You're going to take that defensive work that you did, bring it into Iona on Saturday noon at the Garden. It should be full. You're talking about a big crowd. Listen, they had 17,000, I think, for Alabama. You're going to have more than that. You're going to be close to a sellout at Madison Square Garden. So that's going to be fun on Saturday afternoon. But you got to go in there with the hopes to get your three-point shooting back online. Listen, you were 4 for 22 against Ole Miss. You got to be better than that. You got to share the ball better. You can't have 8 assists. You got to have a lot more than that. Cut down the turnovers, at least in half. Get everybody going. You want confidence heading into Big East play. You want confidence going into that Ole Miss game. I want to see Ian Jackson get going. I need to see Bryce Hopkins be more assertive. I need to see Dylan Mitchell do more, scoring the ball as well as being more of a defensive presence. Zuby Ejiofor, keep giving the big man the rock. Keep that energy going. He was fantastic in the game against Ole Miss. Just build off of it. Start with the defense. And listen, no mercy, no pleasantries. Yes, hi, how are you? Hugs all around. Say hi to the president sitting in the stands of Iona, Rick Will, when he walks out of the tunnel, and then that's it. Pleasantries are over. Beat their brains in.
Hey, I will take it. I would love to see, obviously, the turnover numbers go down. Rick even said it after Auburn in the tunnel. Hey, turnover to assist ratio. That's how you live and die by your offense, because shots will fall. Shots will not fall. That happens. Teams get cold. Players get cold, even within a game. So keep up the defense, clean up the turnovers, and just get the offense back on track. Get us another 100-point game. I think we would all be happy to see that. David, thank you so much for joining me today. Was an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to have you back on, and I love the passion you bring to your podcast about St. John's basketball.
Thanks, Perry, so much. Really appreciate it. And anytime you want, I'm here to talk ball. And thanks for everything that you do.
Awesome, everyone. And I will leave you with this. I'm an optimist, if you can't tell, an eternal optimist. And Rick, even with some jokes, also still quite optimistic about his team.
I still believe in you. I think we've got a great team. I wouldn't trade you for anything. This was my pregame speech. Wouldn't trade you for any of the players in the country. I lied a little bit. But I told them how much confidence I have in them. And I believe in them. I think they're going to be a very good basketball team. But we got to get 8 new players to understand all the little things that they haven't learned before because they were in a different situation before.
Yep, got to send them out with a smile. That's the only way to do it. Thank you so much again for joining us here on Court Storming. A fantastic week with a win. There's no room for comments on the win column. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week for another episode of Court Storming.